Alright, as promised, number 13. I will link this paper to the bottom of the page. The iron cores of evolved stars could form catastrophically, as in the iron catastrophe, and did not require vastly longer stretches of time provided by the geologists in their theories of Earth formation. That's a very, very bad assumption. It says here, I've written, the purity and size of the iron-nickel cores of evolved stars signal that they took many billions of years to collect their material and solidify. The evidence for the very high ratios of iron-nickel is via meteorites. The cores of stars take longer to form than their crusts. Therefore, the iron catastrophe is not a real event. Yet this is what they teach in school. The iron catastrophe never happened. It's just made up bogus nonsense because they never understood how a planet was formed, nor did they ever understand how a star evolved. Little do they know that it's the same thing. The star is the new planet, and the planet is the evolved star. The sequence is incorrect. Geologists have the core forming simultaneously as the crust. As well, the amount of time required to form the core is incorrect, as mentioned earlier. The cores of stars form very slowly as they evolve, very, very slowly via vacuum vapor deposition. And core formation is a byproduct of stellar evolution itself, and all evolved stars contain iron-nickel cores. If the object does not have a fully developed massive iron-nickel core, then it is not the remains of a single star, but the remains of a collision event between other objects. The development of iron-nickel cores thus belongs inside the philosophy of uniformitarianism, or a very slow change or growth, and not catastrophism. Now, the person who invented these two words, he invented them, side by side. C versus U, okay? They were both invented at the same time, but geologists mostly took up uniformitarianism because that was the more comfortable approach. Little do they know, the Earth had a much more violent past, so there was catastrophism in there too, and this Earth was a much more violent gas giant, brown dwarf, and sun-like star. Disks, here's another assumption. Disks form from spherical objects. No, disks form spherical objects, that's what I have, okay. So you have a big disk, and then you have a spherical object. I don't know if you can see that little 3 dimensions right there. Hey, it looks like a little smiley face. What's up, dude? Anyways, this is pretty bad. A spherical object such as a star remains spherical as it evolves and shrinks due to gravity. This is why all evolved stars, planets, are round. This is a very big issue here, as basic as it is. Disks do not become spherical unless a disk can lose its angular momentum. This is the main problem with the nebular hypothesis. Since the protoplanetary disk theory, or nebular hypothesis, does not have any mechanism for angular momentum loss, the theory loses credibility. The theory loses credibility. They don't have any mechanism for angular momentum loss. They just say magic does it. They use... How do you spell magic? M-A-G-I-C? Yeah. Magic. It's magic, people. Is that supposed to be a J? No. Okay, it's magic. Okay, whatever. Anyways, the objects in the solar system are not independent of the sun. Now, when you have these accepted theories inside of establishment, what they do is they put so much importance on stars and what they do that they completely neglect the actual formation and the evolutionary paths of objects that are surrounding them, because obviously they have the objects that are surrounding them forming at the same time as a star, but as we all know, that's erroneous. The whole volume of a star evolves, meaning if you have a star, okay, in the interior structure, the entire thing evolves inside of it, okay? It's not reliant on some other star. It's, a few AU away, or, really close. Besides the fact that it can rip away the atmosphere, that's about it, really. But the interior regions of the star evolves, okay? That's where the stellar evolution takes place in its interior. And that's how planets evolve, in the interior of the object. The whole volume of a star evolves. Therefore, their evolution is mostly independent of the relatively small surface area impacted by a hotter host. Remember, when you have volume, it's cubed. When you have surface area, it's squared. This is a whole hell of a lot more material than this is. A whole hell of a lot more material. That's what we need to focus on, the three-dimensional star, not, what's happening on the surface. It's very poor philosophy that they accepted, and it's been around really since like the 1930s, and it really got going in the 70s because, they didn't have enough probes to be able to withstand the pressures of the evolving stars in their interior, so they just ignored it. But as we know, that's very bad reasoning. This means they're definitely mostly independent of the sun, except for their current orbits. The fact that the sun has them orbiting around it, that's basically the only thing that's making them related. Rocky metal surfaces are not subject to photoevaporation, as are younger, more gaseous stars. So they're even more independent of the sun's features, except for their thin, if existent, atmosphere, such as the Earth. Now this is very important. If you have an object that's gaseous, okay, the gas can be ripped away relatively easy depending on how close it is to a host star. But if you have an object that's very small, stable, like Mercury, the amount of photoevaporation and thermochemical decomposition, that basically means you have a molecule and you break the molecule up into its component parts, and then they become lighter, and then you can blow them away. They become gaseous then, and then, the rocks and minerals, they can disintegrate by that method. But that happens a lot more slowly than, say, a hot Jupiter, where the outer atmosphere can be ripped away a lot quicker, exposing the more rocky, stable core. But anyways, you get the point. Number 16. Nothing can enter the solar system from another star system entirely. This is one of the assumptions that I noticed that they keep, and it's so strange they keep something this ridiculous, because there are no walls preventing objects from entering the solar system. Duh. If the object has great enough mass and momentum, it will enter freely. There's no walls out there. You could have a planet entering into the solar system from another place in the galaxy entirely. There's nothing blocking it from entering the solar system. This means the Oort cloud is probably an unnecessary concept, as well as means the objects found as meteorites probably came from outside the solar system entirely and have origins from some other place in the galaxy. Think about this for a second. They think that the meteorites that enter into Earth's atmosphere and land on the ground are from the solar system's formation. Who allowed that to happen? That's dumb. There are no walls preventing objects from entering the solar system from outside the solar system. This concept wasn't even needed. The solar system is moving through the galaxy with all the planets, moving along with it, okay? It's moving through the galaxy, meaning it runs into other places that... I don't know. With this realization, it becomes obvious that our own system of objects was subject to capture by the sun, including the Earth and all the life on it. The sun captured the Earth. Alright, I'll go ahead and stop this. I'll start up number 17 in another talk.